I was, that's my phone. This was, yeah, restroom. No, a minute.
I think that every time.
This is just the hard copy of the letter from Mercy.
Oh, okay.
That is. You'll have to help me remember where I put it.
Put together any good applications lately?
I'm trying, I'm really trying. I don't know that any of them are gonna be any good, honestly. But I am trying.
No, I don't mean you were bad, we just, you got lots of applications, you put together, and done and done.
Yeah. The whole meeting.
In
Yeah.
addition to everything in my
Yeah.
normal life
Oh,
job.
Christine has the.
I've had to see it turn into a.
That's still a mess.
It's-
As it was
I
with the
have a feeling
signal
it's
and the
gonna-
railroad
It's
crossing.
gonna, the
and
railroad stuff is what's gonna
Yeah.
kill us, and it's gonna turn into a.
They just gonna separate that out again, or,
Is Diana one of the
no, no,
folks?
because like I
Yes,
said, they did that, they have to pull a signal on that, yeah.
she is one of our.
I don't know whether or not
Somebody
to set
said-
up more chairs or not.
We'll see if
because
this
I
is
don't
the
know if
last
anybody else
time
is
they
gonna
give
find
us a
money
letter.
for it.
I
Well,
know,
It's the city that has to pay for it, right?
Where's
Central
my
Point, we're paying for the
Yeah,
railroad
we
crossing
know.
stuff.
Toby
and the
and Pat
sidewalk,
don't wanna
that's their
make it.
stuff.
Mhm.
They put money in, but.
Yeah, so we're eating the rest of it, yeah.
Mhm.
Not in person or- Not at all.
Good thing you're here,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to do it again. These
Sorry
mutiny,
about
they
last
mute me on me,
Oh,
and there's nothing I can do about it.
hi. Hi.
Sorry about last
Get
week.
in.
No, I enjoy it.
How are you?
Good for that
We
Wednesday
might
night.
have to scoot closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
but
want to go on the
for right
record
now,
and say I'm
good.
tired of the cold.
Oh,
Can you
but
bring spring back?
it's El Nino or something.
Being down with my daughter in San Diego it was like bipolar. Took my son to the beach
Uh-huh.
on a Saturday. 75 degrees, beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. Come Monday, we're in a flood watch warning because it's raining so hard. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh, okay, this is how it's gonna be.
Yeah, we should do
My
that.
husband calls California the crisis state. They're always in.
And the
They're in
crisis.
flooding.
Being that
flooding,
far
or-
south, like we would be okay. And
What did we
my
do?
daughter's still calling. She's
Diana.
like,
It's
it's
God's wrath.
nasty outside right now. I'm like,
Florida got
Gotta
4
clean 'em
feet
out with
in
a lot of
one-
rain.
In one
And if
24
they have a
hour
lot of
period,
fires,
4 feet, not
yeah,
4
it's
inches they kept saying.
Of rain.
Don't think we're making a mistake, it's not 4 inches of rain, it's 4 feet of rain.
It's a lot. I've been in 12 inches and that was massive flooding, but yeah.
They're
because it's such a concrete
on
jungle.
one of those tide tables too, so
Mm.
it was really
We get
high,
rain
the
here.
tide was in.
Yeah,
And
we
the
get good
drains
rain.
couldn't empty, and then when the tide went out, they
Oh,
sucked
yeah,
it all
we
out,
hear
but
rain.
it came down, it was terrible, I'm glad I'm not in Florida for many
The
reasons.
last one was in 96.
Yeah.
Didn't it take out the?
My sister lives in Rochester, Minnesota, and it was 82 days ago and 2 inches of snow yesterday.
Oh, yeah, they're getting way more snow in the next couple days. I've been watching the national news guy and it's really exciting this year. It's
And the news is fun.
That was right before.
I think that we live in a pretty blessed zone. We're really blessed.
Yeah.
We have not gotten anything terrible.
Yeah, there was no extremes here.
Not
Not
really,
really, yeah.
not in weather.
Technically have a forum.
Do we have a quorum?
How many does it take per quorum?
8, right?
Oh, 8.
Out
Oh,
of
we
16?
Oh, no, we only have 15 members. now.
Yeah, we're
15
missing
members, so
one.
that's right.
Let's see, we have 7, and
Seven
then
and
there would be
7.
7, 14, but we're 1 short
13.
of 6, so we have 13.
Yes. Here's-
So-
Oh,
We
there's
need
Jen.
7, we just need 7.
We have a
got
switch down and give you
now.
a spot.
we're good then.
We'll just make sure you sit.
Oh, I can.
I thought that chair was
I
going to
can,
come.
I'll be okay.
You want the one that matches.
Yeah.
What role?
We have eight.
Joy, joy, joy.
We will go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is 5:31. For staying on the roll call.
Sarah Dawn,
Here.
Jim Delat,
Here.
Cat Stone,
Aye.
Connie Page,
Here.
Mike Baker. Just a moment. Tom Trotter,
He was in the waiting room. I think.
he's right there.
He's
Muted.
Oh, okay.
He's just muted. Janice Baker. Here. Diana Larson.
She's still connected to audio.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm here.
okay, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Diana's still connecting to audio and Natasha Atkinson is here also. I don't think she- There she is. And so Toby, Tabitha, Lonnie, and Roy are currently absent.
Were those prearranged?
Only
Two of
two.
Two of them? Okay.
Is Diana still having trouble connecting? Been like that For a while.
Folks, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
no,
She
she's
said she was
connected.
gonna be on the road, so. There's no time to say signal.
Wait, the chair.
Okay, I'm here
Hi,
at least for a minute. So are we ready to start the meeting? Is everybody else there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Sarah thought she was gonna leave. the meeting.
Oh.
Oh,
I think
No.
well,
Yeah, we already called to order.
So, yes,
We
called
did, we did roll call already.
did roll call. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance.
Is next.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, election of the Budget Committee officers. Chairperson. Somebody else besides me. I'd like to elect Connie. Is she on the board already?
What?
Is Connie on the board?
She's run a budget meeting before.
I have.
Yes,
never
is
been.
she
It's
elected
just a
already?
regular meeting. Pardon? Oh, give me some time to get up to speed here. Has somebody else done this before?
Well, Sarah
Maybe.
certainly has.
Oh,
But does it have to be somebody from the budget committee?
It could be anywhere, but typically you have one of the citizens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
typically one of the
Diana.
citizens. So we
And
only
I'm-
have
also be
one.
Natasha.
Maybe, yeah, Natasha might.
Tasha attends all the meetings.
Is there anybody, is there anybody that's not
I'll
here?
nominate Natasha.
No, thank you.
No.
I don't have my little list here to go to do all the things.
Diana, did you want to appoint somebody that isn't here? Is that it?
Yeah, yes, that's what I was thinking.
Anybody who didn't show up?
Yes,
You know what I do, Connie? What do you want to do?
I don't even know how I would do it. I mean, I have no idea.
you just go through the agenda, just
Okay,
like
so-
what I'm doing, only
Yeah.
without driving.
A motion, second discussion?
You
All right.
see the commissioners, right?
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
that.
Okay, so we'll nominate Connie as chair.
I'll second that.
This will
Wonderful.
teach-
All those, all those
Diana,
in
we're
favor?
little Chat.
All those
Aye.
in favor of Connie?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I didn't hear anything, so, okay, so Connie is our next chair of the Budget Committee. Vice chairperson. We need somebody to be, I could be a vice chairperson. That would be okay, I could probably, but if there's somebody else that wants to do that, I won't get in their way.
I nominate Diana as vice chair.
I'll second that.
Okay, so there, we're good with that. Okay, moving along. Oh, all those, oh,
We have to vote.
all
We have
those
to
in
vote.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You can take it from here.
I'm
No.
sorry, who seconded that one?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
So I take it from
And
here.
now
Okay,
So we're gonna be on the minutes.
Okay, Diana, you can go back to driving.
so we're okay with minutes from last year?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So has everyone looked over the minutes from, oh,
Yeah, going
From
back
wherever
in
this
time
is.
was amazing.
from May 9th? Has everyone looked at the minutes for May 9th? Does anyone have an issue with the minutes from May 9th?
I'd like to make the motion to accept the minutes from May 9th and
I'll
move
second.
along.
And
Beth,
can we vote on that then?
Move by Cat, seconded, just sometimes just repeat it so they can.
Oh, all right. Cat Stone moved to okay the minutes from last year.
Second.
Sarah seconded.
now we're gonna vote.
Those in favor?
Those in favor?
That's exactly.
That's all you do.
Okay.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
And those not in favor?
The ayes have it.
Okay, all right, well, that passes. We're good
Doing a great
there.
job.
Yeah,
I
thank
I only make motions on good days.
Announce it and just turn over the show.
Oh, no, we still have to do the.
Presentation?
The budget committee.
Oh,
we
just
did
the minutes.
So
Yeah.
we'll take the rest.
Okay, so I noticed that the regular board meeting minutes that included the budget hearing were also included.
Yes,
I didn't- Okay,
That was just an
attachment, okay, never mind.
Cool.
That's the next budget item and. everybody-
Okay,
Yeah.
so, are we talking here now?
Number 5. Or 6.
Okay, wow, that was quick.
We don't mess around.
Okay, presentation of the FY 24 budget, 6.1, review and approval of the that budget. Are you going to do that?
I am. I
Okay,
am
great,
indeed.
thank you.
But it's
So,
also, it's also,
Mute, Diana.
Diana mute.
there we go. Very bad. Okay, did we mute everybody? All right. Oh, it is much quieter.
So you might want to announce some people are muted, just to raise their hand, use the raise hand function,
Okay.
so that we'll be. able
Oh,
to see
if we
it.
have questions.
To all those that are muted, if you want to use the raise hand function, if you have a question, please do. Does everyone know how to use that?
yes,
Diana's driving.
They're saying, I don't know, they're saying, no. Can't talk.
Just break it if you have to.
Yes.
All right, and we're gonna share screens so that the folks online can also see what we're looking at here as well. But this is also the same information that is in your packet. So we're just gonna start with the budget transmittal letter. And so attached is our 23-24 proposed operating budget for your consideration. The district has made strategic decisions to improve our operational efficiencies, increase our hours of service, and improve frequency in order to provide a better quality of service for our customers and communities. What I didn't put in here, and I'm gonna ad lib a little bit here, is this last year, what we did is we completed our second year of Saturday service, and we increased the Roseburg route service hours. It starts earlier in the morning and lasts later in the evening. So that was part of our increased hours of service, but then the increased frequency is the Winston Sutherland route, which was previously one bus that was interlined that went all the way to Winston and then all the way up to Sutherland and all the way back to Winston. And it did that all day long. And so now we have two separate services that are hourly service that go from Roseburg to Winston and back. Includes, I believe it's 5 trips to Dillard. And then the Sutherland one goes from UCC to Sutherland and back, and it also includes a new section that goes over by Ford's Pond that we previously did not cover. So a lot of new service for us, that's a lot of new service. That's the most new service that we've added in years, since 2010, when we added the South County routes. So that, even though it didn't make it into the letter, it was not at the forefront of my mind, but it's one of those things that is worth noting because it makes a huge difference. So this last year has been an unprecedented time of preparation for next steps of what we're going to do. We've received some huge grants. In August of last year, we received the 5339 bus and bus facilities grant in, I believe that was, oh, I didn't put the amount in, slightly over $2 million. It'll be on the next pages. And then we received a second bus and bus facilities grant we received the award in October, and Sarah just executed her signature on that this evening. So we now have enough funding available to not just start the development, but to completely develop covered bus parking structures, the preventive maintenance facility with solar built into that to offset some of the costs, and three electric buses that will be coming.
That's right next door.
Yeah, we're still working on where it's gonna be now.
But it'll be close, really close.
It'll be close somewhere, that's coming to a theater near you.
Well, I'll look out for it.
Yes. So that was the second one that we received in October of 2022. Our ridership has continued to climb throughout this year. We saw a 47.17% increase in the fixed route ridership from 21 to 22. And as we're nearing the end of this year, we're looking at a 54% increase. So we anticipate ending the year with about 85,000 in fixed route ridership. That's still lower than we were when we were pre-COVID, but we're getting close. We're within about 15,000 of what we were pre-COVID. And when you're looking at 252 service days a year, 15,000 is really not that many people that would be able to. Because when you go there and back, if somebody rode 5 days a week, that's 10 trips a week per person, and it adds up pretty quickly. So we could add 15, 20 more people on and as regular riders, and bring that number up to over 100,000 again. So our Saturday service continues to climb. We've completed 2 full years of Saturday service, and we're consistently running between 350 and 460 rides on Saturday in Roseburg every month. Our demand response services have provided 22,208 rides over the last year, while driving 16,110 revenue service hours for 204,380 miles in Douglas County's rural areas. We're still anticipating the delivery of the vehicles that we said in our last budget meeting that we were anticipating the delivery of.
And that's the 3 electric.
Well, those are new. But we are anticipating delivery of, I believe it's 11 vehicles. 3 of them are smaller buses, and the rest are demand response vans.
From last year.
Yes, we ordered them in July, August, and October of 2021. And we're
COVID happened.
still waiting. So we have been on hold with those. When we do receive those, we will be able to provide more service in the more rural areas, like the Elkton, Drain, Yoncalla, South County over to Glide and Idlewild. We provide service to those areas right now, but it's on a space available basis. And there are times when we are turning rides down because we just don't have enough vehicles to meet the demand.
Go ahead.
Oh, is it best to ask questions as you go, or would you like us to wait and ask questions at the end?
So to me, it does not matter. And
It's probably less disruptive if we wait till the end.
well, if you haven't noticed, I have a really hard time going by script.
And our memories don't work as well as they used to, so if you wait until the end, you might not remember.
Right, so it might be most appropriate to ask right at the moment, yes.
Okay, well, I would just, are we intending to go over to the coast, all the way to the coast at some point? Is it like Reedsport and, that,
So prior to 2020, we had what we called the Lifeline service. And that was, it went a different direction every day to the more rural areas. So Fridays, we did go to, we had a stop in Sutherland, Oakland, Elkton, Reedsport and Lakeside, and then turn around and come back. And we did that morning and evening. So you could potentially go over early in the morning on a Friday morning, spend the day, and then come back. Yeah, so, and we had a lot of riders that did that. Our ridership was greater from Roseburg to the coast and then back than it was from the coast to Roseburg and back. So it
and
was
what is the projected, when what might we be doing that again? I'm just curious.
buses, as soon as we get buses.
Oh, as soon as.
But then we have to
That's,
take-
that's some people asking.
And charge them.
Yeah.
And drivers, that's.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So in
So-
a year or so.
Well,
Or not. We don't know.
so when we had this meeting last year, we thought we were anticipating the vehicles that we ordered within just a couple of months.
Mhm.
And here we are a year later, and we know that we have VIN numbers, but we don't know beyond that. And we know that we're not getting COVID barriers, because you can't reach the fare box through a COVID barrier. Apparently, that's one of the things that they've discovered in all of this. Yeah, very interesting. So, yeah, there's a lot of changes that have just been on hold. Because we have to have the vehicles before we can move forward. Yeah.
And the drivers.
The drivers, they come easier once you have vehicles to put them in.
They don't have to share.
So, and I did list our business strategy with our vision and mission as part of how we make our decisions. But this last year, we completed a transit master plan that had been about 3 years in the making, and also it's the Douglas County Coordinated Transportation Services Plan, I believe that.
Human services.
Human services, yes. So we completed a couple of plans, and the idea there is in order to get funding, you have to have the project in a plan. It has to be named, and there has to be public input that people actually want these projects to happen. So we have the plans now that can be updated and modified as we find other projects that would be appropriate to put into the plan. But now we have them, so we can refer to them and ask for more money to do the projected projects. I should be a little more specific with that, not just money for money, but to be able to operate better service. So as we were looking at our budget this year, our primary concern is that the costs have risen so fast, and they continue to rise, not as fast as they were there for a while, but they continue to remain much higher than they were a year and a half ago. And some of them do continue to rise. Our budget is primarily focused on maintaining the services that we have, and then taking the services that we know that we can implement and still be able to fund them without having to roll them back at some point because we don't have enough funding, and get those in place. And one of those is the Lifeline is going to come back more as a connector from Douglas to Lane and all the way down to Josephine counties. So you'll be able to make that connection on public transit. But then we will also look at how can we best implement the service back over to the coast and out to Glide and Idlewild, because those were the two most heavily traveled legs of our Lifeline service. Yes. So as it says there, the following pages discuss the assumptions we used in developing our budget. So there again, the inflation has just continued to rise. It was as high as or higher than 7.5% for a while last year. But it seems to have settled in at about 6% for the last couple of months. Which is better than still climbing, but it's still a concern. So most of our budget is drawn from projections of expenses that we have currently incurred, and then with a modifier. And so the various different goods and services don't, they're not at the same rate of inflation. So the fuel and the preventive maintenance are at a higher level, but even those two are different. So Sherry's the finance manager. What she did is she took all of this last year's preventive maintenance, and she averaged that together and projected it out, because some of that was really high and some of it was more what we consider to be normal levels of preventive maintenance. So we're trying, circle back around. We're not just trying to manage that level, but we're also trying to bring in more funding to cover that, to ensure that as it rises, we still have enough to cover the preventive maintenance. We also, fuel is another one. We did the same thing, but we also are looking at a project that we're going to submit a grant application for that could considerably lower our fuel costs as we develop the site that we're going to be developing. If we can get another grant in to also be able to do the on-site fueling that allows us to purchase bulk fuel. And so it's an upfront cost, but then it will last for a period of time, and it's at a considerably lower rate, at least 65 cents per gallon. And when you consider that we have been up in the $30,000 a month range for our fuel this last year, and some months even higher, we were as high as 37,000 a couple of different months. That is a significant drop in costs if we can implement something like that. So that's one of the plans that we have that we're hoping we can push through this next year. We also did the projection for a COLA because the board has the option of giving a cost of living allowance or increase for the employees. We built in 5% into the budget so that the board they don't necessarily have to go with 5%, but they could go up to 5%. And that's just the number that we built in. So they have something to work with. And our general fund is comprised of resources that are the STIF payroll tax, that is the Special Transportation Improvement Fund, and that is 0.1% of a payroll tax on every, I think it's $1 for every 1,000 that we earn. That payroll-based funding is generated here in Douglas County. It all comes back to us to utilize. The STIF population-based is now a new portion of the fund, where the state mandated that we take the STF, the Special Transportation Fund, that is specific for seniors and people with disabilities, and we roll that into the STIF, which is the Special Transportation Improvement Fund. And so they worked through the legislature and ODOT to formulate new rules that will apply to both of those. So it's a shift in how the funding is delivered. but not so much a shift in what the funding is for. So
Does the STF still include general fund? State general fund, didn't they have some,
they,
smoke, some tobacco or some of those?
yes, so that will now go into the STIF population-based fund.
And so
Yeah.
that's still coming, okay, I just wasn't sure.
So our money comes from income tax,
Our,
and it is apportioned to little areas of the population.
yes,
Like Canyonville gets a certain amount, and Reedsport gets a certain amount, and that comes out of the pockets of every W-2 earner and 1099 earner in the state, as well as, like Mike says, from certain other special taxes on
Mhm.
tobacco and that kind of thing.
that's why
for-
it's really important for our district to increase our capacity to be able to serve everyone, all of the smaller communities. And with some form of service. It might not in the beginning be the best. It might be 1 day a week or rides on a space available basis. But we need to be able to provide some form of service to every community within Douglas County. Because they're all paying into it. I did get a from the employment department, they do where all of the tax came from, and 66% of our payroll tax is generated within the city of Roseburg. And then our next highest, I believe, was Dillard. I'm gonna have to take a look.
Oh, because they
RFP.
named something wrong.
Oh, no, it's because of RFP.
Oh, really? Oh, RFP pays because their people pay,
Mhm.
because that's where the income is generated?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Oh, how interesting. I did not know that.
Yes.
And I
So-
know a lot.
So we have,
You're gonna get some
City
more
of
tidbits,
Roseburg
Plants coming in.
Yeah,
Southern
hey, and it's just,
and Dillard and Riddle, those were the top 5. So, but just because they're not in the top 5 does not mean that we don't have a desire to serve them.
That part of that is they're resource industries, and so if there's a recession that hits that
Mhm.
particular resource,
if they
But
lay
that-
everybody off while they build this new
that
plant,
hurts us abnormally hard.
then we are going to lose money.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Yes.
It'd be nice if they just give us some about 700 million, because there's gonna be a lot of people who can't buy gas or drive cars.
We'll see how that all goes. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. So the rest of the funding that goes into our general fund are federal and state operating grants, bus replacement grants, capital grants for preventive maintenance and equipment purchases, fare box revenue, advertising revenue, and medical transportation income. And there is a really nice handy dandy pie chart there that kind of shows you what those percentages look like as they're split out. Our revenues include, so the 5311 funding is federal funding, and we have a percentage of match that goes with that funding based on the type of project. So for administrative or preventive maintenance projects, the match rate is 10.27%. On the operations, it's 43 something, so is that what it is? 43.92%. So pretty close to the 50% range for operations funding there. But it is allocated from the state in a formula. So what they do is they take everybody that is currently receiving 5311 funding, and based on their ridership and the miles traveled, they increase that funding every year. And so you're guaranteed to, pretty much guaranteed to get at least 100% of what you got last year. And primarily the fund has got a 5% increase in it. What happened is they ended up with a surplus of funding that needed to be allocated out. So they came up with a formula and figured out which transit districts or providers were providing more service and at a faster rate than what their allocation was growing. And so we got an additional 10% through that allocation. Instead of getting 105%, we got 115% increase this last year. And they called that right sizing. So that was really good for us. It always feels like it's just not quite enough to meet the demand, you know, but it is definitely helpful. So there is us.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes, ma'am.
So have they said that there's a certain time period where they're gonna continue to do that? Like, are they gonna wait 5 years and then do it again, or?
It sounded like they were going, I missed one of the meetings, so I didn't hear everything that they discussed at the PTAC meeting. But it sounded like they were gonna do it every time that a surplus built. So it could be in 3 years, 5 years, because they do reassess the allocation on a yearly basis, even though it's a biennial award. Yeah. So,
Not that it's anything we can build into our budget, I'm just.
Well, it makes sense because of
Yeah.
employment, it's employment taxes and that's gonna vary up and down, so.
oh,
Yeah.
the 5311
Oh,
is
5311.
federal. Yep, yep.
Said,
Yeah, so it depends on, how much we
Federal.
receive from the feds. So the 5310 funding, it's about the same as it is every year. It hasn't grown exponentially or anything. But we did have some changes to how that was allocated. And I'll go into that as we get a little bit further in. The special transportation fund that we were just discussing, it's been eliminated and replaced as the stiff population-based formula. So the award amount is the same dollar amount as the STF funding was. And I believe we went through that also. The payroll tax is 0.1% employee payroll tax. And this fluctuates with the economy, but it does typically come in a little bit higher than what they have projected it. Our 5339 grant, it was included in our 22-23 fiscal year budget because we knew that we were going to get the award, even though it hadn't been executed yet. So now it has been executed, but we have not yet utilized the funding. So all of that award is in this budget as well, carrying over. And the 5339, it's our grant 34227, and that is one of the vehicle grants that we ordered the vehicles in July of 2021. And they have extended the end date for that grant for us through the December of this year. So we do anticipate receiving those vehicles before December. Our fare bucks revenue, it continues to climb, even though we lowered our fares by $1 last July. So we decreased from a $2 regular fare to a $1, and then we decreased from the $1 senior and disability, people with disabilities fare to 50 cents. But our fare box revenue continues to climb, even though we made those choices to lower the fare. Our medical transportation income has doubled over the last year as we've increased our capacity to provide both ambulatory and wheelchair rides. The challenge with operating the wheelchair rides, though, is that the expense pretty much evens out. The expense for providing the service pretty much equals the income for providing the service. So it's not something, it looks like on paper that we're making a lot of money, but in actuality, we're covering our costs for providing the service. Expenditures. So our budgeted general fund expenditures are projected a bit higher this year. And the increase is primarily due to our new capital grants. And that is to develop the property as we were discussing, and the preventive maintenance structure. And that will also have office spaces for our operations staff, which will free up some of the office space here in our admin building to allow for growth in our admin as well. So personnel expenses are budgeted at 28% of our total budget. And at this time, we have 40 employees for a total of 39 and a half FTEs. So one of our employees is a half-time employee. But we have plans to add an additional 13 as we receive the vehicles and as we create the space for the HR person to actually have a home when we hire them. And I believe those are the only increases that we're looking at is drivers and the HR person.
On your dispatch, it shows you have 45 total employees, but only has up to 36.
4.5.
Was it 4.5? No.
Just zoom it out.
Mike, this is closer.
When,
Well, I read it on my phone too. So.
when is a good time to ask about how Mercy is affecting our budget?
Oh, I will get to that as we get into the.
I've been thinking about it too.
Yeah, so yes, we've had some good conversations with ODOT regarding that and there are some limitations because of how so we.
We can
minus-
get into it when you
minus
want to
budget,
get
yeah.
into it.
Well, so I believe that all of the rest of the information that is in the budget transmittal letter
Yes,
is information that is pretty much describing the grants that we're gonna jump into anyway.
Yes.
So, to read this now and then go through it again and again, is more repetition than I think any of us really needs.
okay,
Okay,
good.
so, the next form that you have in your packet is just the formal notice that went out to, news review and also to, we had it posted on our website. And we met all of the required, posting, the posting requirements, the required posting requirements.
They've
Like, that
dotted
just
the
doesn't
Ts
sound right.
and crossed the
Yeah.
Is.
So that is also posted on our website. And as we jump into the budget here, the first page is that notice of budget hearing that went to the website and news review. And to any interested parties that requested it. This first page, though, is a roll-up of all of the rest of the pages that we're gonna go through.
Resolution 23-1.
Oh, yeah, and there's on the second line, it says July 1st, 2022. The fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022, but we're gonna change that date to 2023.
And mine says 23.
Oh, your system.
Oh, you're on
Yeah, they're
this.
on
Okay,
another
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, they jumped ahead of us.
Oh, so that went ahead and then, but this one we missed,
Oh.
we missed updating that.
Okay.
And then we do have two of the pie charts. For the budget resources, they're the same ones that were in the transmittal letter. Budget resources and budget expenditures that show that. $8,516,674 dollars are allocated to capital outlay. So those are our federal grants to be able to build and purchase vehicles. Okay. Here we go. We're into the general fund. So, there is one correction that we know that we need to make to this one, and that is
Line 15.
line 15. It should be a 5339 grant. And it was listed as a 5330. We'll just typo that one.
But it has a 39, 95, 395.
35395. That is the
Okay.
grant number.
Okay.
Because we now have multiple 5339 grants. We're trying
A number of
to keep the grant number with it. So that tells me what we are spending. Without the grant number, I don't know what it's for. Like, we got some money. So as we start out, we have line number 1, networking capital. The anticipated funding that we would have in the bank at the beginning of this fiscal year would be $1,540,000. We have 5311 funding, 614,578. And as you can see, as it contrasts across from the previous years, this is a bit more this time around. The 5311 COVID funding, we do have 329,485, and that will help us greatly as far as meeting our operating expenses. 5310 funding, that is the funding that is federal funding that comes in to specifically serve the seniors and people with disabilities. This is the funding that is allocated for transportation contracts and our call center. So our STAT committee, we discussed the possibility of using this 5310 funding for also for preventive maintenance to ensure that all of the providers had an adequate number of dollars available to them for preventive maintenance. And we also talked about shelters, needing to replace some of our shelters. So having submitted our application with public input for the call center mobility management, transportation contracts, which included Mercy and City of Reedsport, and preventive maintenance. And then if we had an additional 20% added, we said that the next project would be shelters, but shelters was not the primary project because we were more concerned with operating expenses. So of that funding, $422,000 of that funding was allocated to Mercy for the biennium. So what we were allowed to do is take the $422,000 for the biennium, and we changed transit contracts to cover City of Reedsport only for the whole biennium. So it's $60,000 for the biennium, but $30,000 for this year, for this fiscal year. And then we put in $75,000 for preventive maintenance because that is a cost that continues to go up. And we have been running with all of the vehicles that we have, right about $50,000, $55,000 a quarter for the preventive maintenance costs. So we figured it was really important to put some in there. And then the balance of that is going to go to the call center, which then we have typically had the call center partially covered. And then whatever isn't covered in the call center, then that rolls over into operations, and it's covered in operations funding. So what this will do is it fully covers the call center and our transportation contract with Reedsport and preventive maintenance. Those were the only 3 areas that we were able to allocate the funding to. But what that does is then free up some of the STIP funding that was allocated to the call center to go to operations instead. Yes.
So with the purchase of new vehicles, wouldn't the cost of preventive maintenance go down?
It will when we get them.
But you're saying that we're gonna get those, so the biennium starts in July.
Mhm.
And we're supposed to get them within the first 6 months of this biennium, 2.5
Yes.
years later, by the way, but.
Yes.
But still, the first 6 months of the biennium,
Yes,
leaving a year and a half left,
yes.
or I guess a half a year in this budget. But just when, it just seems like the preventive maintenance would go down with new vehicles, so.
Well, it will go down for the new vehicles, but we're putting new service in with the new vehicles. So,
But we're getting rid of some of the older vehicles too, though. So you're not even putting them into the service, you're getting rid, if you get rid of some of the older vehicles that you continue to, you can't use with.
so
Just like a little bit of that.
yeah, so what we just had happen within the last 3 months is 3 of the demand response vehicles. The older ones, they had 2 of them, the transmission went out and 1 of them, the engine went out. So the challenge that we have is with even with the more lenient measures that ODOT has right now due to the supply chain issues. If you have already on paper replaced the vehicle and you've already had a major repair, like an engine replacement or transmission replacement for that vehicle, and it has gone at least 30,000 miles since that major repair, we can't do another major repair and use the preventive maintenance funding for that. We could find a,
Really?
yeah. So we had 3 vehicles. One was
Wow.
that blew the
On
engine.
paper, it's replaced because we got a grant,
Yes. We got a grant and ordered
not
a
on paper,
vehicle.
that way you got it
Yeah,
delivered to us.
yeah, we haven't got it delivered yet. So we are down 3 vehicles and we're limited in how we can dispose of those vehicles. So typically, we always take them to the I-5 auction. And, you might get $300, you might get $3,000. But we were gonna take them to the auction, and I-5 auction has a new rule that they won't take vehicles that are not running. So we actually had no other option other than to sell them to the salvage. So we got $300 a piece for them. And that
I
was,
would took one.
but they don't run.
Are they gonna be replaced with the electric?
Pardon?
Those are gonna be replaced with electric buses?
No, it's a
No,
van.
those were the vans. So that was another thing that happened is some of these vehicles that have been on order for 1.5 years were supposed to come to us as hybrid vehicles. And the company that has been the sole proprietor on the market, Excel Hybrid, and they do all of the where they change them over and make them hybrid. And they've gone out of business. So they've moved from providing hybrid to something else. They were, the way that it was put to me, they were encouraged to do something else. Yes, so there
Yeah,
is.
it's better to just go with the electric than the hybrid. Then
I'm s-
you just don't have the engine and transmission or any of that.
Right.
Those aren't
instead of-
issues.
Instead of getting hybrids, we're gonna get straight gasoline powered motor. We don't have any other choice.
No
They went
electric,
Total opposite way.
really.
Yeah,
Well, you have to wonder if you were encouraged to get out of the
Yeah.
business.
yeah,
Yes.
Were
Which
you- were they
mafia?
any good anyway? You
Yes.
know, was there a problem with them?
yeah, they were good. They were proven. Yeah,
But the gasoline powered vehicles encouraged them to walk the plank.
I think it was the other way.
And
around.
with a hybrid, you've got problems. You can have
Yeah.
either electric problems or you can have the gas problems, and they're like diapers. They're really not good for anything.
Yeah.
In
that
actuality.
just creates more problems on each
It's
end.
just something to Band-Aid people across the bridge into the electric world.
Well, in
Mechanics
our
/
terrain, an electric vehicle is, until they get a greater range for the amount of electrical draw on the vehicle, to do what we do with the lift and everything. A lot of our vehicles have 3 batteries in them in order to be able to handle the draw on the electricity from all of the components of the vehicle. So until we get a vehicle that can go better than 250 to 300 miles, it could be something that we could partially use. But we wouldn't be able to use it all day long for some of the runs that we do. So right now, electric is not an option for most of the service that we provide. And that's, just the way that it is for now. But the 3 electric buses that we will be getting, they are full-size buses that will be running the Roseburg route. So they'll be, here in town and carrying hundreds of people per day. And our route, when you run it a full 12 hours, is right about 200.
That's perfect.
miles. Yeah, so it'll work. So there's a transition period, and I totally get why there's a transition period now.
We're learning as we go.
Yes, yeah, so, we thought we were gonna get hybrid and be able to check a box on our greenhouse gas emissions reduction, and we're not gonna be able to do that this time around, but 5 years and we'll be able to replace them again and give it a whirl. Maybe by then we'll be hydrogen.
Better order right now.
Yeah, the hydrogen thing.
Except I don't have a grant we're getting our grant that we do have modified, because even though it seemed like it was a lot of money for, I believe it's 7 vehicles, we went out for bid and it wasn't enough money. So we had to get the grant modified. ODOT's modifying it so that we can get some smaller vehicles on it. So, yeah, we got a lot going on.
So you didn't drift over into the Mercy thing while I wasn't paying attention.
Now, the
Okay,
Mercy.
Yeah, we completely talked about it. We're looking at that.
So,
We started talking about allocating money to different areas, and I wasn't sure where that came from.
So the Mercy funding has to be allocated to the 3 buckets that we had in the grant. And, that went, Jennifer pushed, and that was the answer that she got. So, but what we can do as a result of that is the funding that was allocated as STIF funding for the call center to help bridge that gap, that can be allocated to somewhere else in operations as well. So we can't use that specific funding, but we can use the funding that was the call center we probably will end up hiring some of the Mercy drivers, but they're going to interview just like anybody else. It's something that we have to do. So we're gonna interview and hire drivers. And so as they end their service, we will bring the vehicles back because the vehicles were leased. And, of course, go through and make sure that they're all up to snuff and,
So we didn't lose money with Mercy quitting. We gained money that we now have to figure out how to spread it around.
We
We can
have to
shuffle the
shuffle it.
colors of money around a little bit to
Yeah.
increase the flexibility.
Yeah,
do
because
ourselves.
where we were paying that funding out to Mercy to provide the service.
Yeah.
Now we, because of the timing, are gonna be providing that service ourselves. But that is also a conversation for another time to look at possibly doing, RFI.
Or few.
RFI for information. Request for information to find out if there is a provider out there that is interested in subcontracting a portion of the dial-a-ride service from us with the parameters that we provide.
So we will have to find a replacement for that vendor.
We don't have to, but I believe that it is a cost-effective solution for
It's
us
in our best interest.
in the long
The
run.
match is a lot less.
Yeah,
Sherry? Is that true?
yeah.
I trust Sherry.
Difference is like the 10.27% match to the 45% match. I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, like
It's a-
that.
So it's
It's a
huge.
huge difference, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, those are future conversations to look at we've got 2 years to figure it out. But as we know that the RFP process for providers is a very sticky process
Yeah.
that we have to make sure we cross all our T's and dot all our I's and follow everything to the letter of the law so that we and have enough time to do it again if we don't get a qualified applicant, you know, that's the other piece.
If you could do it wrong, we did it.
Yeah, we did, we did. We had, what we did is we did everything we needed to have the lessons learned to
Mhm.
move forward and do it right next time. Yeah. So that is the update on the Mercy project. It is gonna be really different. Because there was just a set way that we did that service. So we're probably gonna continue doing that. But honestly, it was very good model for how to do the service. In that they have a driver that picks up multiple people in South County and delivers them to dialysis. Then they pick up multiple people up here and take them to South County. Then they pick up another at the afternoon run to dialysis. And then they take the morning ones back. And so that vehicle is hardly ever running with just one person in it, which is ideal because it's public transit and it's capable of holding 10 people. So it doesn't make sense to only schedule one person on it. So we're working on that too.
You have a chat, just so you
A
know,
little
Christine.
typo.
Oh, where?
Christine.
18.
You're the, somebody was chatting.
BEN.
Oh, I read that as an
Oh.
H.
Natasha was trying to guess too, if you were my RFP.
Request for proposal.
Oh. Yeah, so we want to do the RFI to see how we want to write the RFP. To make sure that we write it in such a way that the people that are interested actually qualify for it. Because we don't want to run into a situation where we've set a parameter that somebody's like that close to meeting, you know, so there's just, there's
It
more to
sounds
it.
like we need a South County dialysis
Right.
vendor, yeah, that just does that
Yeah.
as part of it. So are we gonna have trouble in the transition? Is that gonna cost us money in the transition?
I do not believe so.
Okay,
No.
I just wanna know how much it affects the budget that we're deciding today.
So the budget that we're deciding today, how it affects it is it just moves the funding that we had previously allocated to Mercy into the 3 buckets that we can.
All right.
And then we can take from other buckets to fill the gap. Because that's 3 more drivers than we anticipated having
Mhm.
right at this moment,
Mhm.
you know, so for a couple of months. But I think we're gonna be okay.
Okay, I belabored the point enough.
Yeah.
And move on.
And I will keep you updated on during our board meetings. I will do that because this was a surprise.
Uh-huh.
Only knew about it for a couple of weeks before the final decision came down, but they were kind enough to reach out and let me know that this was.
Oh, really?
something
They
that
knew they were going to do it before they did it, before it was announced to us last week
It's been in discussion for weeks in their budget.
in their budget
process.
process.
So as soon as they had a final answer, they let me know. Yeah,
So you got the typo on 28F. Is that the one you have, 28F? Vehicle? Vehicle, yeah.
28F, where do you see 28F?
That's the one, that's vehicle.
Yeah, where it says vehicle or something.
Oh, sorry.
I know
It's
this.
18F on your, you're looking at the,
She meant.
yeah, I'm. on the-
She meant the spreadsheet
Okay,
number.
so it was line.
Okay.
She meant the cell number.
Oh, that's why she did it. Yes, okay, that makes sense.
That's why I was reading it on my phone. I didn't see that.
No, I didn't see it either. I read it just as it was, so.
I saw it, but I didn't care. Thank God for Sarah.
That's why I was
That's my
passing the
job.
note.
It's her job, it's her job.
All right, so next line, 9/11, we are going slow, guys. We are gonna be here forever at this
Yep.
rate. So 5310 discretionary grant, we did receive $80,000 for preventive maintenance. And so that is something that we have just been, I believe it is this quarter that we're actually able to use it.
Yes.
Yes. So that is something that will help us from now forward. Actually, any expenses incurred from January forward. And then the 5304 grant, sorry, that one's blank, never mind. Go down to line 14, our stiff. This stiff includes both the population-based and the tax base. It is all one grant number and it is two project numbers now within the grant. The 5339 grant 35395, that $225,000 there is separated out because it is funding that is allocated for training from the low-no grant. So when we received, I am curious. This is an odd time for me to ask this question, I'm certain of it. This is other resources, but we don't have the capital.
Capital's gonna be on capital resource page.
Oh, okay, never mind.
We'll get this.
Okay, it just feels naked without it. Okay, so
That's the
that,
portion that's not capital.
okay. Very good. And then the grant 34227, the 30,152, that is funding that is allocated for radios. And we did not think that we were going to have enough time to get the RFP complete, so we did not actually do it. And then they extended the grant until December, so the RFP should go out this month. Because it was close. We just didn't have enough time to complete the whole process and receive the radios before the grant ended. So that should be for radios, for the new radios for the buses and for the vans as well. Bus fares and contract revenue, that is based on our current level of collection. Medical transports is based on this last year's income and at 550,000. And the miscellaneous advertising is
Miscellaneous is the rent that we collect from the downstairs, so it's 500 a month plus any advertising that anybody puts on our buses.
okay, so that's the income for the income for the advertising. That makes sense. All right. And then interest, $300 in interest for a total resource of $6,431,954. All right, we made it through page 1 or 6. All right, so our general fund admin, we have total personnel services listed at 523,350. That is for 5 full-time employees, and that also includes any merit increases that are projected and any COLA increases that are projected as well. And as we go down into materials and services, the advertising is allocated at 85,500. And that is based on a projection of what we have spent this last year. So we have an advertising contract with Brook Communications that includes newspaper advertising, radio, clicks on the internet, and I believe there is one other item. So, it's your radio's show is brought to you by Up to Date, which is, I guess they go back and forth between Umpqua Public Transportation District and Up to Date. So, that is a higher number than we anticipated. And so we were actually looking for input as to whether or not that is an agreeable number. Because I am not used to paying that much in a year for advertising. So food for thought as to whether or not we want to change that. Accounting fees.
Cheryl?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that an increase of 35,000? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
If we go based off of what we've been paying just the past couple months with the News Review and Brooks, it's gonna be about 80,100, but that just included some other additional stuff that we did.
Okay. So there are some options that I could discuss with them and then reduce the cost of the contract. It's a pretty well spread out contract for the various kinds of media that we have in our area. But when I agreed to the one change to the contract, I did not anticipate it affecting us that much. It's greater than I thought it would be. So just put that on the table.
Just curious, what was the change to the contract?
It is that every time that they start a show, they say that this show is brought to you by FTD. Yeah, FTD Sports or something along those lines. So it puts our name out there like every time that the announcer gets on the radio. And is actually talking instead of playing music. So. I don't know.
That's a total of about 5,400 a month, just with Brooke.
Yeah. Okay, so accounting fees, is that,
I just left it in there in case we needed to consult with.
consulting? Okay,
Yeah, we haven't used them really.
okay. Our audit fees are higher than anticipated as well, because when we did budget for 30,000 last year, and that's probably right about where we're gonna come in this year. But we are required to do both of the audits now, the regular audit and the single audit. And they are scrambling to get the next one done for us. So we have just completed the 2021 audit that we presented at the last board meeting. And we have an extension for the 21-22 audit, but it should have already been turned in by the end of December. So that's why there's an extension on it. And that is another one that we want to look at, the possibility of doing an RFP at the point that we're complete with the 3 audits that they signed up to do. So that's a discussion for a board meeting. We should be adding stuff for the agenda. Background checks, we know that we will do at least one background check when we bring on the HR person. And then the rest is just in the event that we do have any turnover in staff. That's kind of just a placeholder. Bank service.
On that, did you budget for the additional
Correct.
drivers and operators that you were planning on bringing on next year?
Yeah, they'll be in the, so this one is just for admin. And then we'll go through, yeah, a few more. Oh, no, I will answer your question every time. So we have background checks at 200, bank services, service charges at 1,000, board expenses at 1,000, training conference fees and certificates at 5,000, and fit for duty evaluations at 200. And that is something every employee, as they come on, they do a fit for duty evaluation. So that's just a placeholder in the event that we get to hire someone. Dues, memberships and fees, that covers special districts, CTAA, OTA, and I think,
And DMP.
oh,
No, that would also be under ops.
yeah, so, but between the 3 of those, we're pretty well covered as far as memberships that are looking out for our best interest and lobbying for us. Drug and alcohol testing for the random testing or new hire testing at 300. Election expense, we have at 15,000. We do have 3 board members up for re-election this round, and we have 3 contenders that are running against them. And 15,000 is a conservative number. We have had much higher election expenses. It just depends on how many things are on the ballot.
Does that come out of this year's budget though, or next year's, since they went in May?
We won't get the bill for it until
Okay.
later, yeah. But we do have that in this year's budget as well. And then we'd be covering the next year.
Well, because there's only an election every other year, so seems like every other year you'd have a 0 expense. That's why I was asking if it was this year, then you'd be covering out of this budget year, because you have it in here. The next year, there would be no election, so there'd be 0.
So you guys are holding 4-year terms. That's correct.
Right, and so every 2 years is either 3 or 4 members of the
Okay.
board being voted on.
So I guess that.
can change it. I just left it in there.
Yeah, I mean, so it
That's
doesn't need to
because
be
I
in
don't know
every
how
year.
many
like it is
is-
all
Well,
the same.
let's keep it there when we get, so we have it when we get the bill, and if we don't, we can just readjust it back in.
Oh, that's an idea.
I mean, because we don't know,
If it's
and we
higher.
don't know how long it's gonna take for Loomis to process everything.
The faith.
They're usually,
Andrew
Fairly
quit in December. Andrew ran the place after Rosemary.
Andrew quit.
Andrew
Yeah,
quit,
he's
Andrew
gone.
left in the end of December. Yeah, I know, that's how I looked, and that's how they looked down in the office when I
Oh,
asked. They
my.
said we were shocked.
Where's he going?
Where he
Oh, my
went,
goodness.
where did he go?
Dang it, huh?
okay. So do we want to leave it at 15,000 or do we want to reduce it and, he's the.
I'd just leave it for
15,000?
now, but probably next year I wouldn't. I mean. it makes
Let's
sense
put
to
a
go
pin
back to
in it
later.
and think about it.
But yeah, it's an every other year expense, and I think that 15,000 is probably low. It's probably more,
What is that?
I thought it was more than that
Out of
before.
curiosity.
Is it just,
The training of, in all of the ballot books. So when it's a countywide
Gotcha.
measure, your cost, your expense is more,
They charge us for that. Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah, because I thought it was 2 or 3 years ago, it was a little over $15,000, so.
Yeah, when you
Well,
guys,
that's-
when all 4 of you
There's
ran,
4 of us.
Or,
that was like 23,000, I think.
yeah.
how
I
did we
wouldn't
ever
think
pay
3
for
would
it
be
when all
much.
7 of
5,000.
us ran?
Oh,
And we had no money.
I just looked at that and that one was really high.
Yeah, and we had no money then.
I just leave
They
it for now.
delayed the
How much-
bill and
It's
they
full of
didn't even send the bill until after we had money.
Okay,
So,
how kind of them.
yeah. That was a hefty one.
That was thoughtful.
that was when they were still paying our bills for us.
Yeah.
They would only give us as much money as we had bills to submit to them. Because they hadn't given us.
Kept
any
us
of the
in a
money yet.
chokehold the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
God, the good old days.
In the beginning, that was really interesting.
So we're leaving it, correct?
Yeah, we're
Yes.
gonna leave it. Yeah.
Yes.
Consultant fees we have at 1,200. Legal fees at 3,000. Property and vehicle insurance at 21,000. Non-capital equipment purchase, we have 5,000 in because we have been notified that there are a number of our computers that are gonna need to be replaced. And just, that's kind of normal upkeep every 4 to 5 years, you wanna.
What about the HR person? Will they need a new computer as well?
They
5,000,
will
do you
when
think
we-
Gonna be enough.
Yes, that will be enough, yeah. And postage at 700. Recruitment fees at 2,000, and the recruitment fees are for the HR person that we're gonna recruit for. We still have storage fees at 1,200, but we need to move that closer, like in-house. Safety related expenses at 500. Travel for lodging at 2,000, mileage at 2,000, and per diem at 400. Staff training and supplies, we don't have any in ours.
Everybody's all up to speed.
Community recognition, 600, office supplies at 10,000. And I know that seems like an astronomical number, but the amount of paper and ink
It seemed low,
and toner and everything that we go through, that is an actual number. Yeah. The telephones are at 5,600, tablets and cell phones at 1,600, and airfare at 2,500, utilities at 5,000, and uniforms at 300, for a total materials and services for 243,300. And added that together with personnel services for a total of 766,650 for admin.
So are there a couple of conferences that board members apply to?
So the board members, we sometimes bring training in for the board. But there's also the special districts conference that covers a lot of different kinds of board training.
Okay.
And
That
yes,
doesn't seem like much for airfare if you're going. Several people are going. so-
That's just we send Cheryl.
so this year I am not the one going.
You're not.
I am not
Are
the
you
one going.
sending Sherry?
And no, Sherry is not the one going either. Not unless we can find a conference for her that is specific to,
Miami and.
what is the term? It's not de minimis, indirect cost rates.
Indirect cost. rates.
Indirect cost rates, we have to have a better understanding of that. Okay, so as we go into the next page, general fund operations, we have total personnel services comes out to 1,808,000. That supports 24 full-time employees, including the bus drivers, operations manager, a facilities service technician, which we have not hired yet, but that would be somebody that would be able to do repairs and cleaning of our shelters and assist with things on site here. And that also includes the payroll tax. Oh, that includes bus drivers. Oh, no, this is, okay. Maintenance manager. That is the position that we are creating that has to be somebody that is skilled in the preventive maintenance and vehicle maintenance, as well as high voltage electricity that can help with the development of our preventive maintenance facility to make sure that it's built in such a way that's conducive to actually working well for the different types of vehicles. And so that is somebody that will be starting at the time that we're starting the process of building, and they will also go to South Carolina when the electric buses are being built and spend time there with the team as they build the buses so that they know what is going into the buses, how they work, and what they're going to need to do to be able to work on them. And they'll also learn the software that does the charging
Stations.
yeah, where it tells which one to charge when, how much, and all of that. Yeah.
And what's our time frame on that? Just.
So the buses are due in January, and of course, we've recently restarted the process for the property to have the NEPA complete. So I would say if all things go well, we can start building by the end of the summer.
And when do we inject all the information into this person that we're sending to North Carolina?
North Carolina, South Carolina. I think South
South
Carolina. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so They are gonna go there and learn all that, but they're also gonna be here to help me as we develop.
But we haven't
the-
hired them yet.
We actually have hired him as a driver.
So he's not included in your FTEs on this page.
You know, I noticed a couple of, it says 10 or 8 plus 1 is 10.
That's Sherry's fault.
I read that, and I went, I can't believe that went out the door. So what I learned is that when I do a project like this, I need to have it done in enough time in advance that I can put it aside for at least a week and then reread it again, because otherwise I read it as what it's supposed to say and not what it actually says. So, yeah, I did not catch that at all. There's a few things. I didn't catch the M instead of the H either. Yeah, the V Nichols instead.
V Nichols was great.
Yeah. So, yeah, that is the new addition there, but they will be starting working on this later in the year.
Okay, so he's already here.
Mhm. And we're gonna create a job description that allows for doing the one job at one rate of pay and the other job at the other rate of pay. So that, because it's not gonna be consistent time required from this person for the new project. There will be some design time with them, and then I won't need him for a month or two.
Vacation.
No, driving,
Back to
he's a driver.
driving.
Okay.
Back to driving.
What kind of experience did this person need? Did they have electricity experience? And this is
Yes,
the primary reason why.
yes.
Okay.
It's that high voltage electricity
okay.
experience, and they also have experience running their own company. So running a facility is not out of or off the mark, out of
Okay.
question. They also have experience training new people to work with high voltage. And they have previously had oversight for fleets as well.
Okay.
So there's the fleet piece and the high voltage piece and the ability to train others. So that was kind of like
And it's a person that fits everything what you want him to do.
very well rounded for what we
Okay.
need. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Just curious.
So very good. Super excited about it. So as we go into the general fund operations advertising, we have at $3,000. Accident repair is $6,500, but accident repair is typically reimbursed through another fund as it comes back to us through insurance.
Is usually where we see the offset. If you get money.
Background checks, we probably need to take that up to like 500. I didn't catch that. Yeah, that,
Could be contracted for background checks.
Yeah, and how long does it take?
I would just leave it actually at 300. It's a $200 difference and it's all rolls up anyway.
okay,
It's a roll up thing, so I wouldn't nickel and dime something that small.
okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Otherwise, you have to then adjust your numbers later and other columns and remember that and it's just. It's not worth it.
So there is a company that qualifies as a, darn, I wasn't prepared for this
Do you want me
quiz.
to answer it since I answer it all the
Yes,
time?
yes, ma'am.
So special districts, because we're under special districts, so they're the ones that pretty much mandate who our vendor is. So our vendor is currently Biomed, and even though it's technically a lab, but it's not a lab. So they're our vendor who actually does all of our background checks, and they
They're typically
charge
done
a
in,
very minimal.
Their turnaround.
Their turnaround is
24
anywhere
hours.
it's actually anywhere between a couple hours to 24 hours.
Do they do your drug and alcohol testing too, or no?
no,
That's why it's, I usually explain it that way, because the name is Biomed, but they have nothing to do with a lab. Like, they are a lab, but they just strictly do the background checks for us. So they're just our vendor through special districts, because they're the vendor that special districts told us to use.
No, okay. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Yep, they're very, very efficient. Yeah. And anytime that there is a question where they're not gonna be able to get it to us in 24 hours, they let me know immediately. That if they don't get me on the telephone, they'll send me an email. Yeah. All right, so building and maintenance repairs, we've got at 8,000, which is adequate, I think, with some of the repairs we've done recently.
And also includes the landscapers.
Oh, okay, landscapers, all right. Bus preventative maintenance, this is just for our fixed route buses. This is 195,000. And this is the one that has been running at 50,000 a quarter. So that is not an outlandish number to have in there. Drug and alcohol testing at 1,500, bus shelter maintenance at 5,000. Although we recently lost our vendor for bus shelter maintenance, so we're considering bringing that in-house as part of the facilities tech position, which gives us a little more control over cleaning the shelters. And then the training, conference fees, certificates, all of that, the number is high at 50,000, but that includes the 2 to 3 weeks that we would be sending our maintenance manager back to South Carolina for the training on the buses. And there is training that was pulled out of that grant for those buses that is specific for training. We had to allocate 5% of the grant for training. So that is covered.
Do you have like a van you use for vehicle for maintenance? So you want to go to, I don't know, maybe you're just even just picking up a driver or something somewhere, but or you're going to
Service
clean
vehicle.
shelters or something like that. You have a staff vehicles to do that.
Yeah, we have one service vehicle for that. It's an old wheelchair van.
Yeah.
Yeah. The gray van, we affectionately
Yeah.
call it. Fit for duty evaluations, those are, every employee gets one as they come on board and they have to pass. It's more stringent than their CDL fit for duty evaluation. So make sure that somebody can go up and down stairs, that they could pull somebody out of the bus if there were an emergency, that kind of stuff. Fuel and oil, that is a realistic number at $338,000. And that is based on our actual numbers this last year, with some of those months coming in almost $1 a gallon higher than what we are. And then some of those months were lower than what we are right now. So that's a pretty good guesstimate unless something goes crazy. IT maintenance and software at 1,500, licenses and fees at 2,100, property and vehicle insurance at 40,000, non-capital equipment purchase at 3,000, and I believe that's because they have at least one of the computers needs to be replaced. Staff recognition at 11,000. So we have been giving on Thanksgiving a gift card for the staff to be able to purchase their Thanksgiving dinner. And then we've been giving a gift card at Christmas time as well. And of all of the things that we do for them, that is the thing that we get the most appreciation for. It's actually the Thanksgiving one. They were so surprised that we would do that. They were just, oh my gosh, you know.
Yeah,
So
we are a good employer.
we are.
That's what we meant to be.
We are, and they're appreciating that is, it's really nice to see. So lodging would be at 2,000, staff mileage at 500, staff per diem at 1,000, and staff training and supplies at 300. And that's just assuming sending the one person to training for operations. Bus supplies at 6,000, airfare at 3,000, tablets and cell phone at 3,000, And then the transportation contracts, that is the one that we're changing that from 260,000 to 60,000. Excuse me, and that is the drop for Mercy, instead of that
Okay.
being the transportation contract, it's just Reedsport is the only transportation contract there. 5,800 for uniforms, for a total materials and services of 949,800, combined with the personnel services for a total of 2,757,800.
It's not rather than line by line at all of these, because we have a lot of forms.
Mhm.
You have to, maybe we just go by the sheet and just if anybody has any questions or if there's anything that's, I'm just suggesting this, but anything that
Looks out of line.
looks out of line or something that's big or something, maybe just highlight those instead. That just makes.
I'd second that.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys don't like hearing me talk.
I'm hungry.
I mean, some of it's really interesting information, but
Yeah,
I just was
We'll
looking at
be
all
here
the
all
sheets and, yeah.
well,
And
yes,
we just, and a lot of this is pretty routine.
And
Yes.
it's 12:00.
Put it
yes.
this way.
No,
That's second problem. I'm gonna change that. You'll understand.
You can fix that.
I'm a fan of the board
So
meeting.
other than that,
Good job.
All right, this is gonna zoom right through the last couple of pages here then. We have operations admin, and so this supports a total of 5 full-time employees. The operations manager, transit supervisor, and we are hiring a second transit supervisor that has gone out internally as an application process. I haven't received any applications internally yet, but then we are going to put it out to the general public at the end of this week. So we are hiring for the second one that will give us bell-to-bell coverage with a 4:30 a.m. start 5 days a week and an 8:30 end time 5 days a week. So that one of them will work like the Monday through Friday, the other one will work the Tuesday through Saturday. And so there will be 2 days where it won't be complete coverage, but it will also give that cross training. We are all at an age where we need to be training our replacements. So we need other people to know what we do and why, so that we can continue on. That also covers our an office our operations assistant, and she is also a backup supervisor as well. So total personnel services at 484,200. And then materials and services for that group is relatively small compared to the rest at 67,200.
I would like to make something you might consider, and that this is not something that was really well known, but the printing cost, I don't know. I know you use graphic dimensions and there may not be achieving.
Oh,
The owner had a massive heart attack.
oh.
So
That's too bad.
an employee is working it right now, by himself.
Oh, boy.
So that's something you just want to consider.
Keep in the back of the
You
mind.
might wanna look for another provider.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
and so
Alrighty.
because somebody else might be more expensive, so just keep that in mind.
Alrighty. So total materials and services and personnel services for the operations admin is 551,400. And moving on to paratransit, we have transitioned this last year from having 2 full-time paratransit drivers to now we have 6 full-time paratransit drivers. So what that means is that all the way from Oakland to Dillard, within 3/4 of an air mile of our fixed route bus service, if somebody qualifies for paratransit service and they call at least 24 hours in advance, they're guaranteed that next day ride. And that is an FTA requirement. We have to meet that bar. And that is something that we've been doing really well. And that what that did is that was the shift of the the duplication of service that we're running on top of each other,
Oh.
where one was a fee for service and the other one was a free service. So, we've separated those out and that, and it is now this, $1, fee for ride, the same as if you were gonna get on the bus. So, and that covers the outlying service areas for, everywhere that's not in the paratransit service area. And it is, primarily the rural areas that, that have been separated out. So we have 6 full-time employees for a total of 436,700 on the personnel services and a total of materials and services of 109,000. Oh, no, wait, do I have? Yes.
This is the one we talked about, the phones and the preventative maintenance though. That we hadn't really split it out.
We hadn't put it out.
Mhm.
But then that will just transfer over to another one. So, I don't know, have the numbers that you had split out.
Is
So-
that because of the crossover services?
Yeah, because we split, where. Yeah, because we split services.
Okay,
Yeah.
So, yeah,
it's still confusing.
It was all a lump and now
Yeah.
we're unraveling the lump and
Like
6 of it
yeah,
go
so
here.
the
4 of it go here.
preventative maintenance and the telephone and cell and tablets, I've kind of come up with a different, like a tweak those numbers. To, account for having 6 vehicles instead of however many.
I accept Sherry's plan.
Well, that was something.
Yes.
I'm
It was
looking at,
big red.
I think, I
So
go,
instead of 12, so instead of under the telephones being 12,000, it would be 4,870 for para, and then demand response. Would be 3,500, and then
okay,
medical transport would be 5,500, so it's just.
this is something that, because everything was lumped together. This is a long time process to
Yeah.
be able to
And
put them where they
round
actually belong.
I hadn't
So-
really broken them out that well, when I started working on the budget, but I think that we, those are better numbers.
And what was the other one that we were gonna
And the
split
other
out?
one was, the preventative maintenance.
Oh, gotcha.
Mhm.
And what number were you recommending? there?
For, let's see, for paratransit, it would be 50,000, because they have 6 vehicles now, or we could only have 4 before, and I think it's gonna be a little bit higher, we could still stay at about 30,000, for demand response. It had 29, I would say 30, and then I would also say go. And probably stay at 28,500 for the. I broke those down a little bit, but not as much.
Okay, and that was for the,
So paratransit 50,000 instead of 43,
Mhm.
demand response. 30,000 instead of 29. And medical transports. Right now, we're doing 3 vehicles, not really 4. So we can either keep it at 28,500, or we can. Raise it a little bit, if we want to mirror demand response in 4 vehicles, we'd have to use that 30,000.
I think that's enough of a change.
That's not very much.
I did have a question on the salaries and payroll taxes on the paratransit. If you look back at the actual preceding year, 21-22. So at an $80,000 or whatever it was for salaries, so I don't know, it doesn't matter how many drivers, but 80,000, we paid 12,000 in payroll taxes. And now we're proposing, we have, this year we have a 250,000. So a little more than a 3-fold increase. But the taxes that we're proposing for this year, which is less than last year, is at 24,000. So you would think it would be like 36,000 if it was, or more, or 40,000 if it was 12,000 to 80, it would have to be 40 for 250.
Those were budgeted projections, but we haven't.
Well, it says actual, that was the actual from, I'm looking at the actual
Let me see.
compared to the proposed. So if we're paying 3 times. If we're more than 3 times, then it seems like the payroll taxes would have to be also more than 3 times the actual from before.
That might not be actual, those might just be what we budgeted
What
and
we
we moved the
budgeted.
column over. I think that's probably what we did.
Okay. And then I guess the other question I had was in the adopted budget, the last year we had 250,000 for salaries. And this year we're also carrying 250, and this kind of carries over all categories. Where's the COLA? Budget for 5% COLA?
Last year, I think we budgeted, no, I don't know if we budgeted for 6.
I just want to make sure the COLA increase is
Yes,
actually included.
they
in the
are.
budget.
They're in there.
I second that.
I just don't know, on the.
Last year was my first year learning this whole spreadsheet, so.
The real budget
Yeah.
last year. That's all, I just wanted to ask that.
All right. I feel like we're missing part of the page for paratransit. It
It
doesn't,
should be 546.
We're missing the total at the
the
bottom.
totals.
Yeah, and the way I printed that way. Because I printed it off of the same spreadsheet.
Your area might be different next time.
So what is the total that you have?
400 and, oh, if I just change numbers.
You'll have to retotal it at the end. for
Oh,
that
okay.
last, resolution.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
there.
right. So moving on to demand response, we have the same
Same kind of stuff.
situation. It doesn't have a total at the end.
Yeah.
But our personnel services for demand response, we're projecting 4, and that's what we currently have. But then we just found out on Thursday that we have 3 more that are coming, where our vehicles are coming back from Mercy.
Mhm.
So we'll have 3 more.
Uh-huh.
So
Probably need to
this,
increase that then.
yeah, this is probably gonna need to more closely mirror what paratransit is. And it. Plus, it's just hard to know when we don't know what their salary is gonna be coming on board. Because they do have experience that we always take into account. So. Yeah, I would.
Powering down,
I mean, if we divide that by,
it's not very bad.
Oh, you gotta move your mouse.
But she did, but it didn't seem to light up.
I've been seeing that too, and I can't figure it out.
Oh, there we go. Ta-da. So, yeah,
how many are we gonna have? Are we gonna
we're
have 7?
7.
7.
Mhm.
It's gonna be more like 421,575. You take that total, and divide it by 4 people and times it by 7.
Okay, and that's the total for all of everything in that one. Okay. So that will also increase materials and services some as well. But the 3 vans that they have are 3 of the newer ones of the older ones.
Yeah.
So their preventive maintenance costs have not been quite as much as what we see with some of the older ones. So
So do you think 30,000 is gonna be enough?
I think that if we just leave it as is, we have enough in the grant for preventive maintenance that even if it's higher, we're gonna be able to cover it.
28,500. That was originally.
That's
29,000.
Oh, I wrote 30 because that's what you had said. Yeah.
That's 30.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for this test. All right, so that one is up in the air. It'll be
Okay.
interesting to see next year how close we are able to project this. one.
Yeah, because we're just guessing right now.
Yes,
A
ma'am.
lot of guessing.
You get some variance, and if we have to do a budget amendment in the future, that doesn't something we can just do that too.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, so when we get here to the call center, we have 4.5 FTEs, but we have split
Run
the
medical.
Yeah.
center?
call center.
Yeah, you guys get one? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's turning too fast, sorry.
I want to get out of here.
I was already past that page.
So we have split the call center supervisor, her salary between medical transport and the call center. And she also supervises the demand response drivers. So she's the one that has all the answers for us there. But our total with salaries for the call center is 319,800. And total materials and services is 37,100. For a total of 356,900. Oh, any questions on that one? No. All right, and then medical transportation, we are now a total of 4.5 employees as well. They've got the other half of the supervisor, and they also have. Did we split call center salary?
No, we didn't because we want her.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, how
Okay,
did you
so
split them up? Don't some of the drivers do both? Or a
Um,
lot of the drivers do both?
So they're capable of doing both. What we have found is that the reporting mechanisms that we have do not give the data that we need for our state and federal reports if we mix and match the rides right now. So we have separated all of the drivers, even though they know how to do all 3 types of rides. We load each vehicle with a specific type of ride, with maybe a one-off here and there. Like they're all-day paratransit, and maybe at the end of the day, they're bringing home a demand response or a medical transport. It just has become too time-consuming to go in and actually they have to map the ride, every ride that is different than what the primary ride for the vehicle.
Yeah, that seemed like it was impossible.
That's a lot.
Right?
Yes.
Apparently, this is something that software would take care of, and it's
So the challenge is that the software we have will only give the report by vehicle. It won't give it by
I'm
ride.
asking, is there somebody, Lane Transit's bigger, Rogue Transit bigger, is there
Yeah, there's,
software available?
Yes.
Is it too expensive? Are we not too small for it right now? I mean,
Put in for
No.
a grant for it.
we didn't get that grant.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah.
Oh,
But that was part of the thought process also with the funding that will be additional funding for the call center. Is that is a purchase for the call center. So if it's cost effective and we can manage that, then we can look at doing that. So we're gonna start doing again, RFIs for requests for information to see what kind of program that we can get. Will it meet all of the checked boxes, for an appropriate price? We're almost
Appropriate
guaranteed,
prices, I think is the word.
yeah, well, we're
Appropriate.
almost guaranteed to get it for less than what we're currently paying on a yearly subscription for Route Match. It's insane how much we pay for Route Match.
so Route Match will do that separating out?
No,
Okay.
it won't. That's why
That's
it'll
what we
only
should
do it.
really-
Oh, it's
That's
as
why we're-
opposed to Route Match, so that's why it'll be cheaper.
Yes,
Okay.
so even if you have to run 2 reports, one that is this type of ride, one that is this type of ride, and do a little bit of math in between the reports, it's way different than having to go through every single ride and map rides.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's making one of my employees crazy.
The only question I had on the medical was the incentive bonus. What is that?
So when the gas prices rose so much,
Mhm.
we had drivers that were concerned they weren't gonna be able to.
Volunteer drivers.
Yeah, yes, volunteer drivers. They were concerned they wouldn't be able to pay for their gas to do the rides, you know? So the incentive bonus is if they do 10 rides in a day, they get $1 incentive for each ride that they do. So we have some that are absolutely amazing. And they can do 20 rides in a day. Others are, you know, they really only want to work part-time and they're volunteers.
Mhm.
So they might do 4 or 5 rides in a day. But for those that are really out there and
Making a living,
yeah.
paying their car payment.
They're the ones that make the difference between us breaking even and having income. Yeah, so we want to make sure that we take care of the drivers. The reimbursement rate did recently go up to, it's like 62.5 cents now. As of,
63.
did it go up again?
63.5.
Is
Yeah.
it the government rate? Is that what
Yeah.
it is? The
Yes,
reimbursement?
right.
Yeah,
This
and
one
that's
I've
what
not
we can
shown.
reimburse them without it being considered income.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that was all the questions on medical transportation.
We do, I would suggest on the telephones to change that from 1,000 to 3,500. I don't know. if you-
On telephone?
Okay.
That's just broken down a little bit.
Okay.
Three roads.
Yeah. I'm like, we'll go over this again when, when we're all done.
It went down.
Okay. And these are
Mystery people.
general fund. Capital projects is at the very bottom. And that is the 30,152 is for the radio project that we have. And then the rest, the debt service is the payment on the building. And operating contingency is way lower than what we like to see it. It's at 150,000. And our unappropriated ending balance is 349,423 for a total of unallocated resources of 575,904. So our total requirements for all programs within the fund are 5,856,050 for a total budget of 6,431,954. Oh, wait, do I have more?
Yeah. We have the buses and the CapEx.
What? I thought I was done. That finale, yeah. All right, so these are bus replacement fund. And 5339, the 2,400,000, that is the 3 electric buses. There is a $600,000 match that goes, or a $300,000 match that goes with that. The STP grant is the it is vans and small buses that have already been ordered since July of 21. Then the discretionary, stiff discretionary, that is also, oh, that should have carried over the 205,000. That's also 2 buses that were ordered in that same time frame, the July, August timeframe of 2021. The STBG grant is in the amount of 809,901. That is the one that we went out for the RFQ for vans, and I think it's 5 vans and a bus. And it came in so much over budget that we could not couldn't look at actually doing it. So we went to ODOT and requested some changes. We also had to request the change because these were also listed as hybrid vehicles. So they changed it from hybrid to gas. And they are changing the size of the vehicles so that we can order some smaller ones, which will save us about 20,000 per vehicle and bring us into, they're also going to take some of the van funding and put it onto the bus, and that will bring us into alignment to where everything will fit within the grant.
How many vans then?
I think it's 5 vans and 1 Class D bus.
Still, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, just, we're reducing the size of a couple of them instead of
And
being
going all
10.
gas. okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
oh, yeah, removing the hybrid feature also removed about 20,000 per vehicle as well. The 5339 grant 34227, that is also, I believe that one is 4 vans that were again ordered in 2021. So for the total of vehicles that we have ordered or on the way to being ordered, we have 4,155,822.
Like you said, we needed that in the 205, right? So it's actually 4,210,000.
Oh, yeah.
4,360.
360. All right.
Okay, no one mess up.
4,000,000.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, good job, Mike.
Yeah.
The man with
I
the
had
number.
55,000.
Which in turn on the budget expense sheet will change all of, will change
Right,
everything.
changes your
on it.
resources and all that stuff over there, active, yeah.
Yes, so capital outlay not allocated is our capital projects. So the
That will mirror the new number. It'll be that now, so.
okay,
Yeah,
4,360,822.
Mhm.
And I believe that is the
That's all the bus resource.
all the buses, okay. Bus replacement expenses.
Yep.
On to the next one. Woohoo. We're so close. Capital projects, and this is the 5339 grant, 35395. So this is actually the second one. It's the portion of the Low-No application that we did. So this is the one that will complete the project. The one below it, the 5339-35335 for 2,088,000. That's the one that we received first to start the project. Yes, so between the two of those will complete the project. When we completed the budget and sent it out, we had received notification that we were gonna get $94,204 for bus shelters. And then after we sent it out, they let us know that, oops, sorry, we don't actually have that money. So they said discretionary, goes discretionary. So it's been very interesting, this whole process. We do, we don't. Here you are, no, you don't. So for capital projects for the development of the property, we come to a total of $4,330,700.
4,000,000. Try again.
It's on the screen. I took it off.
That's resources.
1, 3, wait, where are we?
If you take off the.
Hold on, I'm on the next.
Oh, you're on the next page already. I'm not.
Yeah,
Okay.
so if we're removing that 94,000, then the
Oh.
expenditure will change to be exactly, will mirror exactly what the
Yeah.
resources are.
Okay, and what is that number now? It's not 4,330,000.
Or to expenditure.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Total resources is now 4,236,496. Look at the pin. Yeah, okay, and that's what that will be as well. And that is the end of that.
So that changes your
Just the LD one.
unappropriated or balanced and all that to balance, to move the money out of that one back up into it.
Yes. So.
You have new numbers for this thing, for this? resolution?
If you want to hear it.
Yeah.
I think the church can write it down.
Thank you.
Sounds like a cheer thing.
Changes that we talked about. I do have one.
There we go.
This one.
Caregiver thing.
Right there.
The administration is gonna be 1,318,050. Transportation.
You can write on this one, 50,000.
Thank you.
That's the same though, right?
Administration, 1,000, yeah, that one's the same. The transportation operations changes to 4,522,045.
4,522,045.
The next one is the same, the debt services. The capital outlay is the same, 30,152. If we leave the contingency at 150,000. The total is now 6,066,576.
Be very close to the same.
Then the capital outlay is gonna be 4,360,822. The total appropriations of all funds is 14,663,894. And then the total unappropriated is 365,378. For a total adopted budget of 15,029.
Okay, that's replacement.
That would change it. 15,029,272.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
It was 14,000,000.
918.
Yeah.
Yes. How did we get more money?
Mercy quit.
Well, you took it out of your, unappropriated balance. So you had money that you didn't appropriate and now you changed that and moved it into what you're appropriating.
Right, what was the administrative number?
It moves it.
It wasn't changed.
It moves it all over.
While I was fumbling around.
Okay, so where do we go from here?
Need a motion to recommend approval.
Would someone like to make a recommend, make a motion to
Approve the
recommend?
budget as amended this evening.
I'll
But we
second
have to
that.
recommend the approval to
The
the
board,
board.
Oh, I recommend approval to the board. Can I do that?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, because you're a
Budget
budget committee tonight.
Okay. I recommend approving the budget as amended tonight to the trustees board for
You don't have.
final approval. I never get to make it.
Yeah.
Are you seconding?
Yes.
Okay, and everyone that agrees with that motion, please say aye or.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Are there any nays?
Same time as last year.
Is it really? Well, we're seasoned.
And then on to the next, whatever the next thing is there.
Okay,
On the amendment on the.
public comment. Is there anyone that would like to make public comment?
Yeah, Betty.
Oh, yeah. He's a board member or a committee member.
I'm trying to remember.
Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All right, well then.
Adjourn.
What time is it? 7:35. That's not too shabby.
Thank you, Connie.
You're welcome, Hannah. I'm still talking to you.
Okay. It's not really that bad.
No,
Okay.
I have very good homework.
Yes, that's
She's,
awesome.
she's got a team working on it. She's excited.
Yeah, well, the one that she sent me was